Greetings. This is Doc with Adventures with Doc in Africa. Thanks for joining us again. We're really enjoying sharing adventures that many people, usually from America, but some of them from Africa, sharing the adventures that they've experienced with me and Blessman International in Africa. Today we have Jerry and Sharon Dreyer with us, and they were in Africa with me and Blessman International many years ago, and they have some very interesting experiences that they would like to share with us today. So, Jerry and Sharon, welcome and thanks for joining us. Just introduce yourselves and let's hear a bit of your stories.
Okay. Thanks for having us. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Jerry Dreyer.
And we first went to South Africa in 2015. Our church, St. Francis of Assisi in West Des Moines, Iowa, was making this available for the parish, and we jumped on board right away. So we're the first team from our church, first of many that has gone to South Africa.
Absolutely. Actually, Father Ray's been over there now 10 times. I had forgotten you guys were on the very first team. So this is even more historic than I imagined. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. Continue.
Well, our daughter Juliana has actually been on 3 teams. She went with us the first time and has gone twice since then, still involved in the women's ministry or girls' hygiene ministry. And Sharon has been back another time as well.
Yep, 2015 and then 2017. So,
And do the trips get better as you go?
it is an adventure. Each time I've been, it's been a true adventure. On our first trip, we were about a mile or two from House of Dreams, and the trailer that was pulling all of our luggage lost a wheel.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you remember that. It's like,
That's
okay,
Africa.
it's 2:00 in the morning, and we've been on a long flight, but they were able to get somebody out to package all of our luggage and get us where we needed to be, and everything worked out. So even when there's little hiccups along the way, there's always an answer. And I wonder who's in charge of those answers. So
I think I remember that incident where you lost the wheel.
Yeah.
You were almost at our lodge, and one of your team members was sure he lost his billfold, and went back, and we searched in the dark for that billfold, and turned out he had it all the time. But I remember that was another story because your billfold is very important to you, even when you're in America. But when you're off in a foreign country and you lose your billfold, he was quite concerned. And
wow.
Anyway, it all ended up good. When you get off that plane after a 16-hour flight, you're just a little disoriented.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And
it's amazing. We were able to get by with little sleep that night, and we had a lot of long days doing ministry work. Our days would usually start off with a walk where we would see animals from Africa, of course, and then we would have mass on the deck area. A few of the highlights for me, there were several. We did a vision ministry, and it's just amazing when you put a pair of glasses on someone and they look out the window, and for the first time in who knows how long, they can see those trees out there that they've never been able to see clearly before. And it's just incredible. The other really neat part of that vision ministry is after we would fit a person with glasses, we would join them in prayer. And these young people, old people, it didn't matter. They were very sincere in their prayer life. And that's one thing I noticed of the people of South Africa is they are very faith-filled and exude a joy that here in the United States, I think we are lacking.
Yeah, the optical ministry is quite interesting. I have a few optometrist friends that get frustrated that we have lay people out with a couple hours training fitting glasses, and it is kind of amazing that we're able to help people at all. But we really can help a lot of folks with a very simple protocol that we have. It's not nearly the quality you would get if you went to your optometrist here in America or even an optometrist in Africa. But the children and the people we work with, they wouldn't ever have that opportunity to go. Usually, the first time someone gets an eye test in Africa, in the impoverished community that we work with, the first time they have an eye test is when they try to get their driver's license. And so we have children go through school and they just can't see properly and they battle. And then we show up and we can help about 80-90% of the children who need glasses. We can improve their vision to where they can see much better. It's not perfect like it would be in a professional optometry office, but boy, it's been worthwhile. We fitted probably well over 25,000 children with glasses, and our ministry focuses on children. Now, we don't do optical work with children under age 12 because it's just a little too complicated clinically. But from 12 and above, boy, they can see better with this one or that one, and we find them a pair they can see well. And we give them a brand new shiny pair of glasses that we purchase out of China. But go ahead, tell us more of what you remember.
Sharon mentioned the joy of the people, and I that still resonates with me. And the part that really was impactful for me was when we discussed, our team discussed that joy every night as we gathered at the campfire after the day's activities. And what transformed us as a team, and many of us individually, I think, is that as we reflected on the joy of the people we were serving, who have very, very little, and we are sitting around the campfire who have more than we need, we were able to put things into a new perspective and reflect that really we can only find our true joy in our faith. And that's what indeed the South African people taught us, me in particular, was that forget all the trappings, forget all the houses and the cars and everything that we enjoy in our lives here in the United States, but finding our joy in our faith is truly the key to happiness. And that was a lifelong lesson that we learned.
I love sitting around that campfire and just see what happens to Americans when they come to Africa and they start sharing their stories and telling us what the Holy Spirit is doing in their hearts as they reach out and help people. I've been a bit of a student of joy over the years, and it's something that everyone would love to experience. We'd all like to be happy and full of joy. And so I've kind of done a little study. Where does joy come from? And I agree with you, Jerry. It really comes from your faith. People that don't have a Christian faith, they can also find joy. I've done some studying of non-Christians and, where do they find joy? And really, I think we can all find joy in generosity. When we reach out and we help people, it just makes us feel good and it puts joy in our heart. And especially when we're able to help impoverished people like in Africa who could never ever return the favor, it gives you joy. But when you add your Christian faith to that generosity, we have the joy of the Lord, and it's pretty amazing. So thank you, Jerry. I really like what you brought forward today in our podcast. But other things that you remember, what comes to mind after all these years?
Well, we have to have Sharon share her doc story because we were on vacation last week and I had to pull Sharon off a fence because you weren't there with us.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Okay.
with that lead in, Sharon can share the rest of that story.
Well, it's a perfect tie-in because when you go to a church service in South Africa, you see the joy. It's loud, it's long, and they are singing and dancing. There's no stopping these people from celebrating the Lord. And I was at one of those prayer services, and it was getting a little bit too loud and too long. So I left and went outside, and I saw a donkey pulling a cart with a bunch of children on it. I go, oh, that'll make a great picture. So I walked over to the fence. I put my foot on the lower rung of the fence, and I wrapped my arms around the fence part at the top. Unbeknownst to me, my foot flipped off of the rung, and my arm was pretty much impaled into the spike at the top of that fence.
Ow.
Blood
Owie.
everywhere. And fortunately, our missionary leader is Dr. Blessman. So I immediately ran to him, and he took me to the sink where just the day before they had cleaned a bunch of chickens. And that's where he rinsed off my arm. And then I passed out. And when I woke up, there's a priest there. And I'm thinking, what's Father Ray doing here? Oh, in case you need last rites.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it was just, anything that could go wrong seemed to be going wrong for me. But it all turned out well. A couple of hours later, I was on the back porch at Doc's house in South Africa. And he gave me a couple shots of Novocaine and stitched me up with 6 stitches. And I still have a permanent memory of South Africa on my arm.
It's a beautiful circle of how things come around.
It is. I think my dream of always wanting a donkey cart for the church to bring children to church may have started with your incident with the donkey carts. And
My gosh.
And it took a lot of years. I kept asking for that donkey cart, and everybody said, oh, we'll get one. And finally, for my 80th birthday, they presented me with a donkey cart, and now we're bringing children to church in a donkey cart.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that. And I also remember stitching you up on our back porch. It's just one of those things that an old country doctor really enjoys. So thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So, other things that I really enjoyed in South Africa is the mission where we fit and put shoes on young people. I mean, some of them were barefoot. They had no shoes at all, or a very poor condition of their shoes. And we would fit them with the shoes. And just makes me think of the Last Supper when Christ washed the feet of his apostles. And here we are washing the feet of these children and then putting a pair of shoes on them. So that was very moving.
You know, after all these years, the eye ministry and the shoe ministry have been a couple of the favorite things that when Americans come, we always ask them for feedback. You know, what did you do? What did you enjoy? And those two things are always near the top of the list. It is so rewarding to be able to just serve people in that way. And you're right, the model for that program really came from Christ himself at the Last Supper, what he was doing. And it's an incredible experience. And a lot of those children are so young, they don't understand our English, but just the language of love. You're communicating, even if you don't understand each other's language.
Doc, when you use the word feedback, that reminded me of another great experience that wasn't promised in all the promotional literature or brochures or informational meetings, and that was forming a team. And we arrived not knowing a lot of the team members, and there was a lovely young lady named Justine who organized a team activity which had lasting impact. And then she passed out Post-it notes to every team member and asked us to write one word or quality about every other team member, gathered them in an envelope, and then we all received our affirmations from the rest of the team members, not really knowing who wrote what. I found that group of notes last year, rummaging through some of my mementos, and that feedback was such an important part of the team formation, which we didn't really anticipate that blessing, and we've continued to become and maintain friendships with many of the people on our team over the years, and continue to enjoy life here we are 10 years later, and still very close. In fact, we discovered in South Africa that some other team members literally lived around the corner from us in our neighborhood, right. And so the Craigs, we maintain a wonderful relationship with the Craigs now that we wouldn't have known, even as though we were neighbors, without having this experience.
I'm really happy you shared that today. That's one activity that we haven't done that often, and you're making me think we should do it each time because it does. It's just an affirmation for people. You remind me of the Craigs when they were over here. And they've been here a few times. Mm-hmm. Were you on the team where Dr. Craig was walking with the lions and he passed out?
I was. That was 2017.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about what you remember of that. I'm going to have to get him on the podcast as well.
Well, I remember when we did this walk with the lions, they specifically say, don't let anything hit the ground because the lions will go after it. And Doc wasn't feeling well, or Dr. Craig, and he literally passed out, and we're going, oh my gosh, he's on the ground. And so we all just hovered around him in a circle to keep the lions away from him. And as it turned out, I don't remember what did he have? Was it kidney stones?
Yeah, his medical problem was he was passing a kidney stone. And,
yeah.
I think I was there and there were a number of other doctors on that trip, I believe, and none of us figured out he had a kidney stone. It was interesting, but it is, those lions, even though they're partially trained, they're still wild animals, and they see some vulnerable piece of meat, they're going to go after it. And fortunately, the rangers that were with us they're just incredible, and they protected him and got him out of there without any incident. We've had probably 700-800 people walk with lions, and so far they've all made it home.
Thankfully, yeah. So that was one of our things that we did on the side, other than our ministry work. Another memorable ministry work was providing reusable feminine hygiene products for the young girls in school. If they don't have the needed materials when they have that time of the month, they simply would not be going to school. And so we provided some kits to help them to use those kits so that they could attend school. And we happened to do that distribution of kits in a school for the blind.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't just showing them how to use these kits. We had to get our hands in there because they couldn't see anything. And one of the girls even looked up at one of the team members and said, I can't see that, don't you?
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
that was one of our missionaries who was talking with her hands and explaining how to use the menstrual hygiene kits. And
I can't see that.
Yeah, that was so funny. Yeah. But such a blessing to those girls.
And we still have a group at St. Francis of Assisi that puts together and makes these hygiene kits and provides them to South Africa every year.
It's an incredible blessing.
You mentioned it a little bit. One thing that I observed in South Africa is the idea of not doing everything for the people of South Africa, but helping them to become self-sustaining, teaching them how to farm, how to raise vegetables, how to have chickens and take care of those things. That's a really big thrust in South Africa, is to help them learn to take care of themselves. So.
Yeah, we as Americans sometimes make a big mistake of just trying to help people in third world, and we pour a lot of money into trying to help people. And we at Blessman International, from the very beginning, have always tried to do things that are sustainable and give them a hand up and not a hand out. And I usually have a little lecture I give to people that come is, we don't want you to come to Africa and give these people money and that sort of thing. Your gift is your presence of coming or going to Africa. And we want to be careful that things that we do for people in a third world country like Africa are truly long-term helpful And we don't want to become Santa Claus and just start handing out a bunch of things that aren't sustainable and doesn't help them to take care of themselves. So I appreciate you bringing that out.
Mhm.
One of the last things I'd like to talk about today is did you get to experience feeding children? One of our big ministries is working with Meals from the Heartland and Convoy of Hope. Were you able to be a part of that?
Oh, yes. I was thinking that too. You cannot talk about a trip to South Africa without mentioning Del Kramer Center with all of the children. Oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. And what's really, I found it so interesting. These children would come up and get a good hearty meal, thanks to Meals from the Heartland and Convoy of Hope. And they did not have eating utensils. They used their hands to feed themselves. I found that quite interesting. But then when they were finished with their meal, they all did their own dishes. They would have to go up and dunk them in water and put them on a drying tray, et cetera, et cetera. And I just thought, wow, that's really good. And it was a well-oiled machine. Those children knew the routine there. So that was with their meals. And then we played games with them, sang songs, it jumped rope, played on seesaws. It was just so much fun to play with those children and see them experiencing some happiness in their little environment.
I'm so excited about the current project with Highline International and providing eggs as a source of protein and needed vitamins to help the children of South Africa as well. So just keep plugging those chickens everywhere you can, Doc.
You know, I'd forgotten you were in the poultry industry, and I'm like you, I'm very excited about our new vision. We want to provide an egg a day for 50,000 children. And actually, our vision is that in the future, we'll be feeding 100,000 children.
Wow.
Right now, we have 4,000 layers in Africa, and we're providing an egg a day for hundreds of children, maybe even a few thousand. But so we got a long ways to go, but we're making incredible progress. And we have wonderful partners like Highline in West Des Moines that's helping us with that. Thank you so much for sharing today.